I'm Eric Connerton. You're watching Working for Your Wallet on CBS 8+. Every week, we'll take a look at the top consumer stories making headlines. We'll also go over ways to help you save some money. For more than 5 years, federal student loans, even those in default, have not been sent to collections. But that's about to change. The Trump administration says the collection process will officially restart on May 5th for some borrowers. CBS 8's Alex Lai, working for your wallet, and tells us what you need to know.
That's right. This only applies to borrowers in default. That means they've missed student loan payments for the last 9 months. The U.S. Department of Education says more than 5 million people are in default right now, and millions more could join them in the coming months. Working for you, we broke down what is going on and what you should do if you have student loans.
If you take out a loan, you have to pay it back. It's very simple. President Trump will not kick the can down the road anymore.
The Trump administration is cracking down on student loan payments starting May 5th.
Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections.
This includes collections of tax refunds, federal salaries, and Social Security benefits. After a 30-day notice, the department will also begin garnishing wages. So if you are a student loan borrower, there's a few things you should do right now. Working for you, we spoke with Selena Damian with the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. She says to first visit studentaid.gov to check if you are in default.
Just because you're on a $0 payment, because you're on a forbearance, doesn't mean that you're in default, so don't panic.
Damian says people in default will get a message from the Department of Education on how to proceed. There are 2 options to get out of default that you can enroll in before May 5th. One, loan rehabilitation, which is making 9 on-time monthly payments within a 10-month period. The other, loan consolidation.
Consolidation is basically your, refinancing your defaulted loans into a new direct consolidation loan.
Then you can find a repayment plan that works for you.
They can get on an income-based plan, and if they're like a lower to moderate income earner, they may have a monthly payment where they're at a $0 payment, but still be in good standing and in repayment.
Damian says there are scams going around of people pretending to be student loan experts. And if you need help, to reach out to the U.S. Department of Education and not respond directly to people who are contacting you. Working for you, I'm Alex Lai for CBS 8.
Inflation continues to sting in San Diego. In a survey, a significant number of local adults say elevated prices are having a large impact on their finances. CBS 8's Chris Gross sat down with a private wealth advisor to talk about what San Diegans can do about long-term financial security.
A lot of people just have this general concern right now that things are expensive. So what are maybe some of the things that a family can do to take a look at their finances and just try to project a path forward, if you will?
Great question. It seems that there's a few things that we're seeing. Right now, there was a recent study of San Diegans by Northwestern Mutual, and they found that roughly 50% of San Diegans found that their income isn't increasing as high as inflation. And so that's always a big concern. We all feel it, right? There's cuts. Number 2 is housing costs. People are concerned about housing. How do we afford it? How do we get into that place that we really want? And third is just having some kind of plan, visibility, budget, just concerned about not having an idea of how they're spending money.
Yeah. And for families, Scott, I think they constantly look at housing is always going to be expensive here in California, at least for the time being. That's not going away. So what are some different ways or some different areas people can look to maybe bring their costs down, if you will?
Yeah. Start out with the rule of thumb is, on average, you shouldn't be spending more than 30% of your income on housing, whether that's mortgage or rent. But having visibility on that is key. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't know where they're spending money, how they're spending money, and having just clarity on that. And there's lots of budgeting apps. Most banks have one, financial firms have one, Mint maybe. So you can understand, I know the money that's coming in, but where is it going out? People don't have clarity on that.
I know that there's been some instances where some people, especially with subscriptions, they don't realize how many subscriptions they have. And it may not seem like a lot of money, but it adds up, right?
Completely.
I think sometimes people are very hesitant to make cuts on small things because they don't feel like it adds up. But
That's
it does,
true.
right?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
And, if you've established a budget, identifying on where are those ways that you can cut. So, for example, we don't want to take the fun out of everyone's life. We don't want you to be a hermit, still. So if you've decided, okay, I have $200 to spend on eating out,
Yeah.
well, maybe go to $150 and be creative. Maybe go to a happy hour, have a couple heavy apps and a discounted drink versus going out to dinner and spending a lot of money. We hear people are concerned about gas, lots of gas apps and, buying in bulk and using those, times where there are ways to save money if people want to spend the effort.
Now, for those who were lucky enough to get a tax refund, we just got done through tax season. I know some people may have filed extensions, but
Yeah.
if they got a refund, is there I know there's no set rules, but is there a good way to sort of set yourself up for success using that money?
We always say we want to pay yourself first, meaning, find a way to save money. And that's found money, right? I mean, it's not, and so if you can, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm going to go buy that new big screen TV, make an effort to save that instead.
And then is there something that people should do when we talk about not just it's expensive to live here in San Diego, but there's just this national economic uncertainty that we're all seeing right now.
Yeah.
Is it an emergency savings fund? We know a lot of people don't have 500, let alone 1,000 tucked away. Is that something maybe to take a look at to do right now?
We always, it gets back, I know I keep saying budget, but, it gets back to identifying needs versus wants.
Yeah.
We can all be better. I certainly can. We can all be better at identifying that. And are there ways, because if you get to that point of that philosophy of paying yourself first and trying to get to a point of having 2 to 3 months of expenses as your safety net, held in cash is key. Certainly lessens anxiety for people.
San Diego's unemployment rate dropped to 4.2% in March. That's down from nearly 4.5% in February. The county's rate is lower than the state's rate of 5.3%, but on par with the national rate. Government jobs saw the biggest gains between February and March. All of the gains were at the state government level. No change was reported for federal employment. New data says home prices continued to rise across California but stayed flat in San Diego County. This is according to the California Association of Realtors. Their data says home sales in California dropped 2.3% from February to March, but rose 18.5% in San Diego. Meanwhile, the statewide median home price grew 6.7%, more than $884,000. In San Diego County, the median home price stood relatively unchanged at $1.04 million. San Diego's rental market is among those most at risk to be affected by tariffs. This is according to Realtor.com. Their new report says while rents have been coming down for nearly 2 years, the president's tariffs could impact cities where multifamily permitting and building is growing. That's because of the costs of materials like steel and aluminum. Realtor.com says Milwaukee, Oklahoma City, and Memphis could be hit the hardest. San Diego was number 9. Right now, the median asking rent here is $2,667. Shein and Temu have raised prices for U.S. customers. They say it's because an increase in operating expenses due to the ongoing tariff war between the U.S. and China. President Trump has imposed a 145% tariff on China, and China has imposed a 125% tariff on U.S. goods. A 2023 report by AARP found the companies combined send nearly 600,000 packages per day to the U.S. New U.S. customs regulations are making it harder for one major European shipper to send packages to the U.S. DHL says they have suspended business-to-consumer shipments to the U.S. that value more than $800. The company says it's due to additional processing required for packages at that dollar threshold following the introduction of the president's tariffs. DHL says the move is temporary and that business-to-business shipping will not be directly impacted but could face delays. If you're planning to buy a Ford, you may want to do it sooner rather than later. The automaker says they are expecting to raise car prices due to President Trump's 25% tariffs on imported vehicles. Ford officials say if the tariffs remain in place, their vehicles may become more expensive by June, adding they'll be even more costly if the White House decides to also place tariffs on individual car parts. Analysts say the tariffs will not only affect car prices, they'll also cause a drop in car inventory. U.S. pre-orders are now underway for Nintendo's new Switch 2 console. The pre-orders were initially set to start on April 9th, but the company announced a postponement so it could assess the impact of the Trump administration's tariffs. Nintendo says the tariffs will impact prices of Switch accessories, but not the gaming system itself. The console will still cost $450 as previously announced. It comes out on June 5th. Those are your top consumer stories making headlines. You can watch Working for Your Wallet every week on our streaming channel, CBS 8 Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.